I just had a conversation with a left-leaning friend, and they essentially told me that all the problems we have in our country, all the threats to America, to democracy, to the fabric of America, comes from the right. And I thought, well, if you watch this channel, I do see some problems on the right. I see a growing racist movement on the right, not the hallucinated racism that the left typically sees on the right, but actually, the small part of the right that is actually racist against black people and against Jews, for instance. It's still fringe, but it's growing and it's a problem. But I say that because I'm not blind to some of the problems that stem from the right. But the idea that the right wing is more extreme than the left, to me, seems insane. Okay, if you consider some of the positions that many on the left have taken over the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, they're getting progressively more extreme, and I use the word progressively uh, on purpose because the mainstream traditional liberal 1990s Democrat is essentially being replaced by woke progressives. Any typical 90s Democrat, say like a Bill Maher type, they're called right wing, they're called, they're called white supremacists. But if you look at the positions of the left, what you see is a growing radicalism. They have said, and I made a list here, just very brief list: police are evil, all cops are bad people. They want to abolish the police, abolish prisons. White people are evil. Whiteness is evil. On college campuses, this is just implicitly acknowledged. It's just, you can say things about white people and whiteness that you couldn't say about other races. The Electoral College is evil. A lot on the left have started to say that. Now, of course, if they lose the popular vote and win the presidency because of the Electoral College, suddenly they'll like the Electoral College again. The Senate is evil. We've heard that. It should be essentially Congress. The Senate should be like the Congress and based on population. Free speech is evil. John Kerry just recently said that. We know they think the Second Amendment is evil. They think the Supreme Court is evil. They want to expand the court. Israel is evil. We've seen anti-Semitism rise on the left, really sick anti-Semitism, is because they actually see Israel as a product of whiteness and Westernism. They see them as European. Capitalism is evil. They hate free markets. They don't like competition. The meritocracy is evil. Growth is evil. On college campuses, the buzzword that I'm hearing more and more often, I've heard it for the last few years, is degrowth. And you can start to see this idea of degrowth bubble up into the mainstream talking points. Segregation is good. You see a lot of people on the left talking about the necessity for certain spaces for certain races. So segregation is good. Race consciousness is good, which is something we've really tried to stomp out in America. There was something like, cultural pride that was healthy, to celebrate certain aspects of your ethnicity or your race or your culture, but it's morphed into race consciousness is good, and this leads into that neo-segregationist vibe where you see people thinking certain people need certain spaces that are safe for them. We've heard them say riots are good, that riots are useful. Riots are a healthy expression of pent-up, unconscious or conscious rage. Media bias is necessary, right? They've said this, that it's necessary to bend the truth, omit certain facts to promote the narrative of America being a systemically racist, bigoted, prejudiced country. We've heard them say intolerance is necessary. Intolerance is necessary because of past intolerance. Tolerance now is necessary for past intolerance. Discrimination now is necessary for past discrimination. We've seen them paint criminals as victims. Right, so there's total insanity at a variety of levels in academia, and don't even get me started on what they're doing in Hollywood, which tries to embody all of these ideas. And they attack the foundations of our government quite frequently. They attack certain inalienable rights quite frequently. They attack economic freedom. So there is, and look, they they are reckless in their language. They're reckless in the use of terms like white supremacy, calling people Germans from the 1930s and 40s, the other N-word. You can't say the other N-word on here because they'll ban the video. You see them really chipping away at the foundations of Western civilization, and they're chipping away at color blindness, which isn't perfect, but obviously in a multicultural society you better have that. They hate assimilation, right? So there's a lot of extremism on the left, and I think it's way more mainstream on the left to be extreme than it is on the right. Now, the right has its problems, as I've said several times. Populist demagogues on the right are a problem, and there's a lot of know-nothing, wacky, fringe people that are gaining prominence on the right, surely. and we have to keep an eye on that. But to think that there's no extremism on the left, it probably doesn't seem extreme because it's just the mainstream now on the left. You can't even see it. A lot of my leftist friends can't see how crazy the left has become. And if you could take the left today, take them back to the 1990s, the traditional liberal look at these people like cuckoos, like a mix of hippies and the Weather Underground or something. They look at these people like, are you out of your mind? The police are evil? You can't talk about white people that way. The Electoral College is good. The Senate is good. Free speech is good. The Second Amendment, okay, in the 90s, there might be some pushback better, but even then, they understood why you would want a Second Amendment. Israel's evil. Capitalism's evil. Growth is evil. Segregation is good. Race consciousness is good. Riots are good. Media bias is necessary. Criminals are victims. Like, in the 1990s, traditional liberal, and this is when you look at Bill Maher, someone, this is what they're saying. They're looking at the left and saying, this is what you believe. This is what you've become. So, they're really a threat to America.